Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. As we come to the end of 2021, I thought I'd leave you this year with 20 powerful photographs from the year that sums up 2021. Just let's hope guys for a slightly better year next year. And we start with number 20. As the ventilator keeping her husband Felipe alive was disconnected, Maria Salinas Cruz shouted, "Fly high, my love," loud enough to be heard through the glass at the medical center in Los Angeles on January 28th. Felipe was admitted on January 1st, his 48th birthday, after contracting COVID-19. During this winter surge, Latino and Black Angelenos died at 2 to 3 times the rate of white residents. Number 19. With the ceasefire in effect, a Palestinian girl stands in her destroyed home in Gaza on May 24th. 12 in Israel and more than 250 Palestinians were killed in the deadliest escalation in the conflict since 2014. An unguided rocket from Hamas, which governs the 2 million people in Gaza, was answered by Israeli air and artillery strikes. The battle erupted after Israeli authorities moved against Palestinians at sensitive sites inside Israel. Number 18. George Floyd's brother, Phineas Floyd, visits a protest art installation on April 1st. The tombstones bear the name of Black Americans lynched by private citizens, fatally shot or choked by police officers or other victims who died in police custody. Former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin was convicted on April 20th of murdering George Floyd, a historic moment for the racial justice movement in a nation where law enforcement officers are rarely found guilty of killing civilians. In June, Chauvin was sentenced to 22.5 years in prison. Number 17. This 11-minute time-lapse in March shows the final step of COVID-19 vaccine production. Technicians at BioNTech's Marburg complex filter the vaccine before pumping it into bulk packages ready for shipping to a filing and labeling facility elsewhere in Germany. Number 16. And we gotta look at the success stories, folks. Respiratory therapist Diane Gelpi administers oxygen to Carvese Perulu after he was taken off a ventilator at Children's Hospital New Orleans on August 20th. The 2-month-old arrived a week earlier with respiratory virus and COVID-19 and was finally ready to breathe without the ventilator to keep his tiny body alive. "You did it," nurses in PPE cooed as they removed the tube from his airway and he took his first solo gasp, bare toes kicking. Number 15. Valerie Zeller, 52, cries during her first ever wedding dress fitting by the side of her tent in Echo Park Lake in Los Angeles on May 13th. A seamstress donated a dress and assisted with a fitting a week before the wedding to be sure the alterations would be ready for Zeller's special day. Days after the March 20th wedding, the unhoused community of Echo Park Lake was evicted. Number 14. A member of the Afghan Special Forces during a combat mission against the Taliban in Kandahar province on July 11th. Days later, the photographer was killed in a clash between Afghan security forces and the Taliban. Number 13. Palestinian children hold candles during a rally amid the ruins of houses destroyed by Israeli strikes in Gaza on May 25th. A fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hamas brought to an end 11 days of fighting. Number 12. I'm sure you'll agree this is a very impressive photograph. A fisherman feeds whale sharks in the waters around Tan Awan, a small town in the Cebu province in the Philippines. The chance to swim with the world's biggest fish draws tourists, but conservation groups denounce the hand feeding that keeps the gentle creatures around. Number 11. Marine One, carrying President Joe Biden, flies over the In America Remember installation on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. on September 20th. The installation, which was a concept by artist Suzanne Brennan Furstenberg, commemorates Americans who have died after contracting COVID-19. It includes the planting of more than 660,000 small white flags, some with personal messages, across 20 acres. In late November, the total US deaths during the pandemic rose to more than 769,000. Number 10. And this is one that all of us in the UK will remember as a very sad photograph, regardless of your feelings about the monarchy. Queen Elizabeth II takes her seat during the funeral of her husband, Prince Philip, at St George's Chapel at Windsor Castle on April 17th. The Duke of Edinburgh died on April 9th, months short of his 100th birthday, and obviously here, what makes the picture so sad is that the Queen is sitting by herself due to COVID restrictions at the time, without the comfort of her family. Number 9. Journalists from the Italo-Tros newspaper Nakdi 28 and Taki Darabi 22 undressed to show their wounds after they were arrested, tortured and beaten by Taliban fighters for reporting on a women's rights protest in Kabul on September 8th. Number 8. Orphaned mountain gorilla Indikasi lies in the arms of her caregiver Andre Bauma in the Democratic Republic of Congo on September 21st, days before she died of a prolonged illness. In 2007, when Indikasi was just 2 months old, she was found clinging to the body of her slain mother. Bauma was called in to try to keep her alive through the night, although no one thought she would make it. Through a torrential rainstorm that lasted all night, Andre held baby Indikasi tightly to his bare chest to keep her warm and give her comfort. Miraculously, she made it through. Bauma and others at the centre, the world's only facility caring for orphaned mountain gorillas, mourned her loss. It was Indikasi's sweet nature and intelligence that helped me to understand the connection between humans and great apes, and why we should do everything in our power to protect them, Bauma said. I loved her like a child, and her cheerful personality brought a smile to my face every time I interacted with her. Number 7. A child cries while waiting for rice being distributed to the residents in Haiti on August 16th, days after a 7.2 magnitude earthquake struck the southwestern part of the hemisphere's poorest nation, killing more than 2,200 people. Number 6. A person sleeps on empty oxygen cylinders while waiting to refill them on the outskirts of Lima on February 25th. Relatives of COVID-19 patients were desperate for oxygen to keep their loved ones alive during a fierce second wave of the pandemic in Peru. Number 5. And one of my favourite photographs on the list. I must apologise for pronunciation issues here. Yoshaya Umoto, 98, reacts as her son Mark Umoto and niece Gail Yamada surprise her with their first in-person visit in a year after indoor visitation restrictions due to the pandemic were lifted in an assisted living facility in Seattle on March 30th. Residents who have all been fully vaccinated could visit with family for an hour at a time. Number 4. And this is one from a football match that I was actually watching. There are many other photographs, including ones which I'm not going to include here. This is taken of Denmark footballer Christian Eriksen at the Euro 2020, although it was held this year in 2021 in Copenhagen. Christian Eriksen's teammates form a human shield around him. From the perspective of the photographer, he said this was taken roughly 4 or 5 minutes after Eriksen collapsed. At the moment I took this, no one knew if he was even alive. I tried to maintain distance throughout. UEFA's COVID rules prevented me from going onto the pitch, but regardless, I felt it was important not to do anything that might interfere with the medical work. I got a lot of criticism for this picture, for trying to get a shot of someone who was potentially dead, but it is my job. It is really important to show the reality of the situation. Seeing the fans hoping and praying was so powerful. Regardless of nationality or support, everyone just wanted Eriksen to be okay. The faces of the players around him are unbelievable. They can clearly see how serious the situation is and they are extremely distressed. Restarting someone's heart is incredibly difficult. When you see it up close as I could, you realise how much every moment matters. Number 3. From the perspective again of the photographer. In April 2021, I was photographing Ukrainian soldiers on the front line, waiting as the world watched in alarm at the large buildup of Russian troops on the country's border. As I sat down, I noticed newborn puppies run toward a soldier, and his face changed when he stroked the puppies. We reporters often witness violence, destruction, and death, but seeing a soldier in the trenches show kindness and tenderness to animals reminds me of the good and humanity in the world. Number 2. I have included this photograph to be representative of the terrible situation that many migrants find themselves in. Last year was no different to any other. From the perspective of the photographer who took this photograph, it was taken on the 18th of May in Quetta, one of two Spanish exclaves bordering Morocco on Africa's Mediterranean coast. Given that politically it's in Europe, it is a long-established route into the continent. On the 17th and 18th of May, more than 8,000 people crossed over. This man arrived with his brother, who fell unconscious. He started freaking out, scared that his companion was dying. A member of the Red Cross consoled him, saying everything was going to be okay. It was just one of those moments. He had no choice but to collapse, not only because of the traumatic situation, but also, I imagine, because of the weight of everything they'd been through in the previous few weeks. A lot of the time, arriving migrants do not receive the help or attention they need. It was so great to capture a moment of genuine connection between two human beings, independent of their backgrounds or religions. And finally, I have to end on a positive note and with one of my favourite photographs of 2021. Here we have Bernie Sanders of Vermont sitting cross-legged on a socially distanced folding chair before Joe Biden is sworn in as the 46th president in Washington, D.C. on January 20th. As we all know, this photograph became an instant meme and the subject of much hilarity for myself indeed. And so that brings my video to an end, folks. I'm sure, as you can imagine, I could have included 100 photographs easily. I'm just including a few as I sign out the video to you today. I hope everyone had a lovely Christmas and you all have a equally lovely New Year. And let's hope that 2022 brings a slightly more positive year for the world. With that, folks, thank you so much for your support over the last year, for everyone that's watched a video, for everyone that's commented, for all the fantastic friendships that I've formed in the world of YouTube. For the last time in 2021, it's over and out from Lisa Lewis.